We just finished up a webinar on BatchTV with Jesse Burrell. I'm super excited to be able to announce my own challenge coming up on May 27th, the Agent Investors Challenge. I'm going to be using Batch Dialer, showing you guys how to cold call real estate agents, how to set expectations properly, and how to get some deals in your market today. Make sure to click that link below and sign up today to reserve your spot. You don't want to miss this challenge. Can't wait to see you guys there.
What is going on, guys? We're gonna wait a few minutes while people join on. Welcome to the monthly webinar. I'm Jesse Burrell, CEO of Batch Service, with my good friend Ryan Zolin.
Hello, hello.
Say what's up to the audience.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Ryan Zolin, and I am a real estate investor in Phoenix, the one and only.
The one and only.
The one and only investor.
I'm an investor in the room too.
No, I know. Phoenix is the lovely market where everybody is.
So we are going to wait just a few minutes to let some more people hop on before we dive into it. Ryan is an amazing young man who's done some great things. I've got to watch your journey, which has been super fun. You're only 24 years old and you've been doing this since you're 18? 18.
Yep.
So that's been pretty incredible. How's the journey been for you?
Dude, it's been wild. Like, people don't always talk about it on shows and stuff, but like, I was the 18-year-old that literally had no idea how anything worked. Not even just real estate. Most people get into real estate and they've got to there's a learning curve. With me, there was also life curve. It was, how do you pay taxes? How do you buy a car? How do you buy a house? How do you just be an adult? So there was a lot of stuff that I had to figure out at an early age. It took about 3.5 years of trial and error and then a lot of pivoting. That's another thing people don't really talk about, is that there's a lot of times in your career where you're going to have to make a decision that's either going to make or break you or elevate you. And you've got to just do those when you feel like the time is right. So
yeah, I completely agree. For you guys that don't know, we have a YouTube channel, BatchTV. Me and you actually did an episode on a hot take, really talking about those type of things and what it takes to be successful at a young age.
Right.
So people are here for you to drop some gems. So we're going to talk about your 3 strategies on how to be successful and how you do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to reintroduce this. This is Ryan Zolin. He's out of Phoenix.
Yep.
And he's been real estate investing for 5 years.
Yep.
What's a couple of things that you want to tell the audience that they may not know about you?
Yeah, so like we said, I'm 24 years old. I've been doing it since 18. I'm going to be coming up on my 6th year here in August. I started off as a traditional real estate agent. So I basically I got licensed because, again, when I was young and I had no idea what anything was, I was like, this is a place to start. I knew just go get my license and I could kind of figure things out. But after being in the industry for a short, it was a year or so, it started connecting for me. I'm like, well, realtors, they don't have freedom or flexibility because you show homes on the weekends and nights.
Right.
And then also, I know my generation is very anti, let's go communicate and be an adult. So I very quickly saw the future could be click, click, click. I just bought a house. I toured it through virtual reality. I'm not trying to do this long term. So I started off as an agent, and then I started transitioning over to the wholesale side after about 3.5 years in. Got introduced to a couple big hitters like yourself out here in this market.
Right.
And I was just surrounded by guys that were elevating my game. They were like, "You're a realtor? Why?" And I'm like, I don't know. So then my strategy that I kind of implemented after the fact was getting on-market deals and working with real estate agents primarily. $0 in marketing.
We're going to talk about that. So guys, I'm going to recap for you real quick what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about 3 strategies on how to dominate your market.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about how to connect with real estate agents and actually wholesale deals on the market or off the market with real estate agents. That's very powerful. I actually think that's a great tool to add to your tool belt. If you're already using Batch, you're looking to go direct to seller, this is just another way to make more money.
For sure.
We're going to talk about lead generation systems that you could trust.
Yep.
And then why you need to make 5 offers a day to agents. And that's a great way for some of the new people here on. These are the type of things and the KPIs that you need to understand to be successful in your business. So we're going to take Q&A after. We're going to kind of go through these 3 strategies that Ryan has been very successful. Before we get started, I believe you told me you did between 200 and 300K last month or something like that.
Yeah, so we're at 1.6 now on the year.
1.6 million for the year. I know he's a little modest. I know he's not crazy like Brent, but this guy is doing big deals, you guys. So let's dig into it.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about how to connect with agents for on and off market deals. So my first question is that someone's going to ask, like, how do you open that call?
Yeah.
Like, what does that look like?
For sure. Brent and I actually just did like a role play on this for our show before this. And the way you start it, it's all about what I teach in the course, but it's setting the expectations up front. So you're not going to go in, you're not going to lie to the agent. You're not going to come in and say, I'm a buyer when I have no buying capability. You're not going to tell them that you don't wholesale and then you do wholesale. It's setting the expectations by coming in and telling them, hey, I'm an investor. I come in, I buy properties, I work with agents. It's multiple agents that I work with. It's the ones that bring me the deals that I try to build long-term relationships with.
Right.
With that said, there are some occasional opportunities where I will wholesale the deal, but I want to make sure that you just understand, if I were to go and do another route where it's not me buying it, I will fully be transparent with everything we do in this process, and I will never hide anything from you. So you're setting the expectation with them up front. Then from there, it's just calling them and asking for help. That's the thing that I think people overcomplicate when they're working with realtors. I try to tell people this like in a perfect like example of, do you go to the dentist and they start cleaning your teeth and you're like, you're doing it wrong. Like, you don't do that. So it's the same thing with real estate agents. You don't need to have all the answers. You don't need to be the guy that comes in, it's like all confident and sway with how you say your words. Like, no, just come in. Honestly, the more naive and the more that you don't know, the better off you will be. So we just set expectations by coming in, saying like what our process is, and then I ask for help. You'll see which realtors are willing to go to bat for you right from that.
Gotcha. Okay. And then, so when you are contacting these realtors, I guess we can go into that. I have questions here, but how do you get a hold of these realtors? How do you contact these realtors? Where do you go?
So there's a million different places. I feel like you just say, I need a realtor, and you kind of got to like duck your head a little bit, because there's gonna be like 50 that are gonna come kicking down this door trying to like help out. So it's Facebook posts, it's random text messages, it's cold calling, it's going to open houses, it's seeing their names on shopping carts and on bus stops. Like, you just call any opportunity you see. Like, it's the same thing on the investment side, direct to seller, where if you see a bandit sign, you're going to call it, not because you want to buy that specific property. You want to see if they have more opportunities.
Right.
It's the same concept with agents, just anywhere and everywhere possible.
Yeah, and if you're trying to get agents in bulk, maybe that's where you go to a Zillow,
For sure.
Redfin.
For
so
sure.
let's say, I mean, Zillow, for example, I'm just thinking off the top of my head because I don't do this strategy, haven't wholesaled in a few years now. But what I would do is, I'd start reverse wholesaling. Okay, what areas are my investors buying in?
Yep.
I'm going to 85018 zip code. We're going to go Arcadia in Arizona.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to find all those agents' information on Zillow.
Yep.
And start calling them.
All day long.
Absolutely. So this is a free way to make more money, and your margins are crazy because of how you do these.
We're running at a 90% profit margin right now this year.
That is nuts.
Yep.
And then I guess when you're reaching out to these agents, my next question would be, or I guess when you're making these offers, we'll get to that in a minute, but what's your criteria look like when reaching out? Is there a certain criteria, or are you just trying to build a relationship and then let them know the criteria?
So that kind of strategy comes more after you're really doubling down on this kind of a process. For the beginning part, any agent possible. I could make the same argument that a brand new agent's going to be hungrier than a seasoned agent. But with that said, some seasoned agents are very familiar and they work with other investors, so they know how the game works.
Right.
What we target now, where we're like very specific on who we work with, I have a title company pull a list of any realtor that's done more than 3 million in transactions over the last 12 months, and then we target them. That way I know they're at least active, I know that they're in the industry, and they're more open to at least working with us. So
that's a gem, you guys. That's a free gem for you guys that are wholesaling. Go to the title company that you do deals with, do all your transactions with. They'd be happy to do this for you, because it's just the more business you get, the more business they get.
Yep.
So it's a very reciprocal relationship.
For sure.
That is a huge gem right there. We didn't even talk about that. So I like that one. And then I guess, how often do you follow up?
Yeah, so it just depends on the expectations. You got to feel out the agent, right? So at the beginning of the conversation, if you just get the vibe that they do deals here and there, you don't want to call that agent every single day or every week even. You'll want to call them like once a month. If it's an agent that like you can feel the energy from the call or the text that they're like hungry, they want to work with you, they're like let me know where that next opportunity is, and I will go find it for you.
Yeah.
Those agents, I'll follow up with them once every 2-3 weeks. And then your VIP agents, the agents you're doing at least one deal a month with or 2 deals all time with, I'll follow up with them every week.
Every week?
Yep.
And then do you have that built into your CRM? Because obviously it's very tough. So this is an interesting concept. I think we'd actually be able, we need to get into batch leads. I think there'd be a way to just do that inside batch leads as well.
Yeah.
Because I believe you have that inside your Podio. But that reminds me of what Keegley does for real estate investors or wholesalers.
Yep.
It's the same concept just for agents.
That's all it is. That's where I got the idea from.
I mean, as you were in astro flipping too.
Yep. I was the first student in underneath Jamil, second student in the program, however you want to call it. But I was the OG. I got basically one-on-one training 3 times a week from Josiah Grimes, where he was just telling me everything they were doing. I was the guy that took so much massive action that I was like, here is 30 opportunities. I have no idea what the hell I'm doing. Something's going to stick. And finally, after like, a lot of trial and error with that process, he was like, okay, these 2 right here might be something. And then he came back on one of them, was like, you need to get this at like 90,000. I had it at 45. And I was like, okay, let's do this. Let's do this. So
that's awesome. And then, okay, that kind of explains, how to get in hold of agents, how to follow up with agents, how you should talk to agents. I want at the end of this to actually do a role play like you did with Brent. So
sure.
I am a real estate agent technically. You would not want to work with me because I don't do any deals unless it's personal, but we could pretend.
Yep.
So I guess, why do you need to make 5 offers a day?
So I always say there's the difference between green time and red time. And I wasn't really aware of this until I got called out by a few of my coaches, and they were like, you're an idiot. You're spending way too much of your time doing red time. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, this is the 3rd day in a row you've changed your logo. Like, what are you doing? I'm like, well, no, it's branding. It's this, that, like trying to justify it.
It's nothing. Your business cards mean nothing.
Absolutely.
Your logos they mean something once you have an established business.
That's just it.
Like with Batch, for example, we had this janky ass logo for our first 2 years. And then then once we got around to being like, okay, this is turning into a brand, like truly to where we're online, people know who we are. Let's maybe make it a little bit prettier. Let's unify the branding. Let's do all these things so people know that any product that we own, they know that we're going to do good to our customers. And that's the biggest reason why we branded everything across the board, to make sure, because our name meant something to where, we have the best skip tracing. We invest a lot of money in our products. We pour into our customers. We want them to be successful. We're not successful if you're not. If you don't become successful in your real estate investing career, you're going to fail. Sure. And I take it as a census. We're going to fail you. Like I'm working on our education to beef that up, to help people get better and better, because I've been there. I started before Batch. I did wholesale, and I went from, working at a restaurant making a couple grand a month to life-changing money in a short amount of time. I want every single person to experience that freedom, to experience that excitement, and that's why we're around.
I love it. So I was messing up, right? I was doing all the red time stuff. The green time activities is driving for dollars. It's cold calling. It's actually submitting offers. It's anything that has the potential of bringing in income.
Right.
So the 5 offers a day was an easy KPI, because a guy like myself that graduated with the 1.9 GPA needs to keep this as easy as possible. 5 offers a day is 25 a week, 100 a month. Yep. I can run my numbers off that, and not every month it's like I hit 100. I'm like, we're done. Like, no, we're going to keep going and going. But our 5 a day is our metric as a baseline. So our 5 a day should come out to that 25 a week. We'll usually get about like 10 to 15 under contract. And then we will close on, if we have 10 under contract, we'll close on about 7 of them.
Gotcha. So, but let's talk even further about the 5 offers a day.
Yep.
Now you could hack that and be lazy and just make offers on stuff that doesn't fit your criteria. So how do you hold your team accountable, or how did you hold yourself accountable at that time to make sure you're sending out the right offers and actually pushing yourself?
Right. So I think you mentioned it just a few minutes ago, but it's like, you got to like reverse engineer it. So it's the same thing as where I could flip my hat around. I'm like, okay, I'm a realtor. I have to find a buyer first. So what I always teach people is the hardest part of being a realtor is finding a client. The hardest part of being an investor is finding a deal.
Right.
So understand how to merge them together, and you have to go and look for actual deals that are like qualified to be deals. You're not just going to go submit offers on retail houses that are in perfect condition. Right. There's some categories that are very, very specific to investors to where you'd want to go and look for them. And it is this simple. It is pre-foreclosure, probate, there's a category in the Phoenix market that is literally fix up needs repairs. And then the most magical of them all, we are in the most crazy sellers market that I've ever seen.
Right.
Guess what? If it's sitting on the market for 10 days, I would be targeting it. So I could tell you right now, there's like 5 different zip codes out here. If it's on the market for 10 days, not only has my team seen it, we've written an offer on it.
Right.
So just filtering it out, trying to find specific motivation, just like you would with direct to seller. Like you guys obviously are a data company.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have somebody just pull the entire zip code and say, call everybody. You're going to
I have a few.
Right. Right.
I have some crazy friends, you know that.
For sure. And so I'd say it's probably more of like trying to like narrow it down to a specific list.
I agree. 100% is that's what Batch Leads is known for. Is, you know, it started off as Batch Lead Stacker to where you need to be targeting the right prospects. You're basically doing the same thing with agents.
That's all it is.
It's no different whatsoever. And then you know, what's that criteria look like? So you kind of just talked about the probate, but like what does that exactly look like?
So I mean, probate, it's kind of going back to the whole data list, right? So there's specific motivations. Probate, you know that they just lost a loved one. Okay, when you call the agent, don't come in, hi, I'd like to give you a cash offer on your property, 1, 2, 3. Like, no, you're going to be like, hey, saw that this was in probate, just wanted to call. I know it's an estate sale. I want to just throw out an offer. I want to make this process super easy. Pre-foreclosure, you're dealing with the agent that is representing somebody that's in high distress.
Right.
I will argue that the people that are in pre-foreclosure on the MLS, they're a little bit more, willing to work because most people in pre-foreclosure don't address the issue. So if they're selling the home already, great. Target it.
Close on it quick. You could ask the agent, what do they need? What's the net number they need? Do they need help moving? Then you put your wholesaling hat on and your investor hat on. I mean, how can I solve their problem? Absolutely. What can I do to be different than someone else submitting an offer?
Yep. And then aside from that, it's like I said, the days on market, it's just finding pockets. So I always say find your buyer first, but I want to make sure it's like reassuring to people. When I started, I had 5 buyers. One of which was Ryan Pineda. I had 2 buy and hold buyers, and then I had 2 other wholesalers. And I was doing this in the Tucson market because I just didn't want to compete in Phoenix.
Right.
So I had 5 people in my first year. We did $250,000 working with agents and on-market deals with the 5 guys.
Right.
So just understanding that, like, if you know what you're looking for, what the buyer's looking for, you can reverse engineer that's on the MLS. There's some buy and hold buyers that I have that will pay 104% in specific pockets, and I know if I could go get it under contract $5K under list price, I can make 10, 20, 30K on a deal.
Right.
So
you're solving problems for investors still. It's no different than a wholesaler. You're still wholesaling. You're just wholesaling in a different matter.
That's all it is. With the way of being a realtor too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a little bit different, but this is crazy because not a lot of people. You have a very niche thing that you do, and you've done very successful. And I don't like to plug often, but I've known you for a while. You do have a new coaching program that you did just launch, I believe, Agent Investor.
Yep.
So tell the audience a little bit about that. And I know we're going to talk about all that stuff later, but I feel like it's a good time for people to know, like, this is something you could teach people how to do and have success. And I know what you've done, what you've put together. So I will fully endorse your program.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So I was doing like one-on-one coaching for a while, and it was great, but I was getting pulled out of my business. And so I finally like stopped doing the one-on-one. I'm like, okay, well, let me go back to my team, put 15 deals back on the board the next week. I'm like, okay, this is great, but how do I impact others? And so then I was like, okay, well, there's a very clear, distinct like gap between agents and investors. For whatever reason, agents hate investors because they think they're all slimy and they just want to make a quick buck and that their expectations are unrealistic. Investors are so timid to go and talk to an agent because they don't know where to start, and they feel like the agent is supposed to have all the answers, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm brand new.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to argue with people and like try to push them towards is let's bridge the gap. So the course is, the slogan is that it's designed for agents, but it's made for investors. It's designed for agents to be able to triple their income by adding a tool to the tool belt. It's also designed for investors to understand how you can work with agents for $0 in marketing. And in my opinion, of course I'm biased, but I would rather see somebody start off on this side of the industry, make 10K, put that under their belt, then let's go pay for systems, let's go pay for other mentoring, let's go reinvest that money.
Right.
Too many people get in the industry, and I can tell you again, I will speak on it for myself. You're around guys like Jesse Burrell and Carlos and Sal, Keegley, Steve Trank, all these guys that are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in marketing. And I'm like, okay, well, how do I compete? So I thought I had to start spending money on marketing, VAs, lists, all this stuff from the start when you don't have to. You start with a program like this where it doesn't even need to be going into my course. just go and start working with agents and show up to open houses and work with these agents that are willing to bring you opportunities, get a deal or two under your belt. Or I will be fully transparent here, make mistakes. I'd rather you make mistakes with something that costed you $0 than something that you spent $20,000 for the phone to ring and you fumbled the bag.
Right. So, no, I completely agree. Like using our products and using our systems, that's a great way to actually have a bankroll. So you could actually use the products
the right way
for a longer period of time, not having to spend, I have $300 and I hope to get a deal.
What does that get me?
You know,
right.
Like our system isn't a magic pill either.
Right.
You have to have money. You have to be able to spend it. You have to get an ROI. Like I think cutting your teeth with what you're doing, first, if you haven't got a deal or if you haven't got a deal on here and you're using us, like I get it. Like implement this strategy. This is something that you could do. You need some money to reinvest. Like
for sure.
You can't just only do what you're doing, because I know you do spend some money on marketing as well.
Yeah.
But do both.
Absolutely. And so that's why we started the course. It's agentinvestors.com, and I'm super excited. We just passed 100 students. We've had it up for about 3 weeks now.
Nice.
And literally in the 3 weeks, we've had 9 students get deals. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, it's been amazing, super fulfilling. It's awesome.
All right. Cool. We did get a little off topic.
Sorry,
so let's talk. Let's go back into, why do you need to make 5 offers a day? So the next question I have on that, is there any special terms or disclosures that you need to put into these contracts, or what does that look like?
For sure.
Or is someone able to get that from you? Do you have that in your coaching program? I guess that's kind of my question for that.
Yeah, so obviously if you're an agent, consult with your broker and figure out what the disclosures are that they want. For example, out here, we have to use 1 or more members of 34 Holdings LLC as a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona with Stunning Homes Realty.
Right.
That covers all of my bases to them saying in any way, shape, or form, I'm a real estate agent, you're acknowledging that. Now, as for other terms, I mean, that's all going to vary on the deal, but I mean, we like to do a quick response time, so there's no games. They're not going to use my offer to leverage another offer to bid higher.
Right.
We're going to do the close date that's going to be determined based on what the seller's needs and desires are.
Okay.
Title company is non-negotiable. It has to be my title company, or it has to be one that I've done deals with in the past that I know can work with investors and they're assignment friendly.
Yep.
A lot of people ask me, do I need and or assignee? I don't. I think most contracts in most markets, you don't need it. But again, I would confirm that through a title company. Call them and say, do I need to put and or assignee? Because there's little things like that put roadblocks in where an agent would be like, well, what's and or assignee mean? Like,
right. If you don't need to put that, because I know in Arizona, it doesn't need to be written.
Yep,
it's implied.
Not. Correct.
I learned that early, back when you were like 15.
Right. Still a baby. No, yeah. So there's those kind of terms. Disclosures wise, I mean, just have morals. Don't screw people over. Go in with the right intention and setting the expectation. Again, I use that word very often with the community. It's setting expectations. That's all this is. Because it's like, how would you feel if you were blindsided by somebody? You'd be like, oh, I don't want to do business with them again, or screw that guy. So it's just setting expectations. Terms wise, I went through most of them. The only other thing you might want to put on there would be dependent on if your brokerage, if you're licensed, had like, you need to make sure you're specifying in here that you're going to make money. And that's one very specific that I had gone through a lawsuit where the seller's case to me was, well, I don't understand how you did this. You were taking advantage of me. You knew that I could do this, this, and this, and you made $20,000. And I'm like, okay, so now we add in buyers buying this property with the intent to make a profit. So it's just little things like that you catch on as you go. But what I want to make sure I'm really emphasizing here, this shouldn't be a holdup point. This shouldn't be something that's like, okay, well, I can't take action until I figure out all the disclosures I need. Go right away. Figure it out as you go. Terms, it's going to be dependent on deal. Just understand what should be the first motive is figuring out what the seller wants. Once the seller will tell you what they're looking for, you'd be surprised, but the amount of times people are selling their home and they're going to go build a new one, they're going to go buy a new one, they're going to go move in somewhere. If they're elderly, they may be going to like a nursing facility. Yep. There's like all these different variables that will determine what your terms will be, which will lead to more opportunities to obviously close deals.
Right. So. Okay. And then our third topic, and then after our third topic, I think we will have a little extra time before we have to get into Q&A. So I really want to talk about some of the mindset stuff that me and you have discussed personally. We'll revisit that in a minute.
We'll go through it.
So let's talk about picking a lead generation system that you can trust. So I guess what systems are you using?
Yep. So right now we use Batch Dialer. We cold call real estate agents. We have our custom Podio build out that Albert built. It's just very specific to what we do in our strategy. We use Batch Driven for driving for dollars. We use every now and then we'll use Batch Skip Tracing if we're going very specific to direct to seller, but not really our primary focus.
Right.
Aside from that, we have a custom Excel sheet that spits out all the data for, like, we code the back end of the MLS with the API. So it spits out all of our leads that we're supposed to target for the day. So rather than going and just filtering out by thousands of homes, it goes in and it color codes what our best opportunities are for the day. So we do that every single day. And then we use our other Excel sheet that has the calculator of what our offers are going to be.
So is that something that you guys give to the agent investors in your program? Or
we haven't gone through the coding one yet because it's not universal. There's some MLSs that I can't figure out the API yet. So we're trying to figure out a little bit more of a like back end thing. So right now what I've been telling people to use is Privy.
Okay.
So Privy is a good resource just to be able to go in and see opportunities. But I would also argue that Batch Leads is better for comping. So
yeah. So let's talk about, a lot of people use Batch products and have used it. And
yep.
But let's talk about Privy.
Sure.
I keep hearing you and Jamil talk about that, so I've understood it a little bit, but dive into that a little bit because I heard it's a good software.
It's basically like an MLS website. So like for people that are not on, like they're not licensed agents, it's a good place to go that's affordable every month that you can go in and see what the comparable properties are. You could see what active properties are. It gives you the agent's phone number, and then it will, like, there's a few calculation things. They're still trying to figure out what the glitches on the back end where it'll actually show you, okay, these 3 properties in this zip code sold at this price. Where it's glitching out is that the 3 that were in the zip code, maybe 3 blocks down the road, that's not actual comp. So it's just like little like growing pains they've got. But aside from that, it's
Batch has all that. So all we need is the secret sauce we need is the agent's contact information.
That's it. Dude, I'm telling you right now, if you guys want to be like the most dangerous person in the entire world, especially for what I'm teaching, it's having the agents. If you could get agents' information, that's the one thing that I always get as a question from people. They're like, well, where do you get all the agents' info? And we already talked about it on the show, but it's like they are literally everywhere. It's just a lot of sweat equity.
You want it in one place. So
yes, if you can have it on the website, you're good to go.
To everybody on the webinar, remember this moment because you'll see that in there in the next 3 to 6 months.
Let's go.
So that's something we've actually had on a roadmap and talked about for a little while.
Yep.
But showing it there and then giving access, I think would be a much better way. Instead of just having it on lists, have it on all the comps and solds, and you could just skip trace it and grab it right then and there if you want it.
There you go.
Or we could just give it away, which would be even better.
Either or. Yeah. And so I would say it's a good software. It's new. It's got a lot of like growing pains. We were actually working with another company that had a very similar, we'll talk about it. It was Blue Squid. It's another software that's for MLS. We were trying to figure out some things. And I just couldn't quite pinpoint like how things could connect, and it wasn't all that user friendly. Privy is a lot more. The user interface is pretty good.
Okay.
It's got some room to grow still.
Okay.
But yeah, we keep it really, really lean. I don't really like to go through all the systems and everything. Like, there's a million out there, right? It's just like anything in real estate. So many ways to do it.
So let's talk about that. So that kind of goes into mindset,
sure,
how your journey's different. So one of my favorite things about you is like you looked at all the big players in Phoenix because I'm sure you looked up to a lot of us that were doing a lot of deals at that time. Me, Annie, and Evo, when we were wholesaling, we were doing 20, 30 deals a month.
Yep.
Jamil's doing 70 a month.
Yep.
Steve was doing a good amount. Pace is doing a good amount. Brent has always been a huge wholesaler. So how were you able to internalize that and be like, I'm going to do it my way? Instead of a lot of people are like, I wanted to go do it like you, or I want to be you. What made you have the self-belief to be like, I have this idea, I'm going to go do it this way?
So part of it was that I already had the traditional real estate background. I think what most people struggle with, not even investment or traditional, there's 2 things that people always get hung up on in the real estate process. It's contracts, because they're so intimidating, and it's title and escrow.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, trust me, I understand exactly what you're saying. I get it. Let me reassure you. Contracts are fixable through an addendum, aside from like 2 or 3 terms. But if you really messed up those terms, you tried. Like you put non-refundable earnest when we all told you don't put non-refundable earnest. Like,
right.
There's things like that. As for escrow, guess what? Do what you think you should do. And if title or the closing attorney needs something else, they'll let you know. Aside from that, stay in your lane and focus. So I got rid of a lot of the things that I think are hurdles that people initially struggle with getting over before they take action, because I'd already done like 20, 30 million in transactions my first 3.5 years.
As a traditional agent?
Correct. So I did that. And then obviously just being around these guys, I mean, they elevate you. You are who you surround yourself with is a very real thing.
Yeah.
And while they were all focused on their thing, the one thing I was able to pick out of every single person was that they all have a very special niche. So Steve is the sales guy.
Yep.
Brent is the like wholesaling guru, talk to people, but that's the brand, TTP, right?
Yeah.
You've got Pace with creative finance. You have Jamil with wholesaling 101 and to get your foot in the door with astro flipping.
Right.
You have all these guys, and then I mean data guy. Like there's all these guys that have their very specific focus. What could be mine? And I was like, yeah, you can only play the young thing for so long before you're like 30 years old and they're like, okay, it's not cute anymore, kid. Like get out of here. But I was like, okay, well, I am a realtor. Even though I don't like being a realtor, I want to be an investor, and it kind of all just connected from there. So I realized that, again, the hardest part of being a realtor is finding the client, the hardest part of being the investor is finding the deal. Go to the MLS. You know, people at least want to sell their homes.
Right.
And then I kind of accidentally fell into what I talk about and teach is the double dip. I represented myself in a deal where I wrote it up. I had my TC at the time, Kyle Holder, write the paperwork. I was the buyer. We got it under contract, and then I was like, okay, well, let's just assign it out. This was after I'd done like a few wholesale deals. And I was like, let's just assign it out for like 10K, cool. And I forgot about the commission. The very first deal that came across with a double dip, the settlement sheet said $6,000 in commission to Stunning Homes Realty, and then a $10,000 assignment fee to 34 Holdings. And I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, guys, I just got commission as a realtor for representing myself as a buyer. I'm the easiest client I've obviously ever worked with because I don't have to communicate anything, and there's no like, oh, what's going on? And then the assignment side, I'm like, this is beautiful. And so I just doubled down on that, and then kind of just found my specialty. I became the guy that helps everybody working with agents and then the on-market deals.
So yeah, any of you that are open to or have your license, this is something you should definitely be doing if you're on this webinar and you already have your license. This is something you should always be looking into. And if you don't have your license, it's worth reaching out to Ryan and seeing the benefits and drawbacks, because state by state, it could be very different.
For sure.
But I also think that understanding the paperwork, the title work, and then on the other side of things too, I'm sure with some of the lead generation that you've done now and in the past for direct to seller, having your license, I did a lot of deals with people that had really good houses that wanted to talk to me, and I'm like, okay, you get it one way or the other. You get a cash offer, some type of creative offer, or if you want top dollar, you're going to market. And I represented people tons of times. Bryant Apples, who's partners with Cody Sperber, when he first started, I was mentoring him. First thing he did was get his license, and he would figure out every appointment he'd go to, he'd figure out, okay, I'm helping you in some sort of way. What do you want it to be? And he made a ton of money in listing commissions as well.
Absolutely. That's something that isn't really talked about enough with this whole process, and I need to do a better job myself of explaining that. One, there's the argument in 5 years you're going to need a real estate license to wholesale.
Potentially.
But two, like you just said, the listing side. What's the number one complaint people get on direct-to-seller marketing aside from the screw you, I hate you, delete my number, or how'd you get my number?
Yeah, you're not paying enough.
Yeah, I want more money. Okay, hello, flip around the hat. I would love to list it for you. I'm now a licensed real estate agent. Here we are.
That is something we do have to talk about. You do have to tell them that you have to play two different hats. That's the one thing that I learned early having my license is I am an investor. I'm also an agent. I'm coming to you right now as an investor.
Yep, investor
if that
first.
strategy doesn't work, then you could flip back
for sure
to being a realtor. And if they like you, they're going to want to work with you. And then what you really have to explain to them is basically you're not going to get it the best of both ways. You're not going to have your cake and eat it too.
It's one or the other. Yeah.
If you want very top dollar, we have to list this property. Now, maybe in this particular market, that's a little bit different with all the funds and everyone buying. But so if you want top, it's listing your home. If you have a circumstantial thing like you talked about with someone that needs to move, someone that's building a new house, someone that is going through
nursing facility. I mean, there's times
a million.
Like a million different variables, right?
Also rental properties with all the equities. Like I sold. So for example, I could give a perfect example to this. Is I had a sixplex that I literally just sold to Jamil.
Yep, I wanted it.
So, but I didn't want to go and list it on the market. So I personally left money on the table.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to deal with it.
Yep.
I was like, I'm super busy. I bought the sixplex for $300,000 2018 and sold it for 1.2 million cash.
Right.
So I was just like, I wanted to let a friend have it because I did a good job on the remodel.
For sure.
And at the same time, I wanted it to be a very simple, easy process to where I could have maybe left 50, 100 grand on the table. But at the same time, I may not have because of the realtor. I could have represented myself.
For sure.
Which I don't have the time to do. So I would have had Laura represent me, and then I'm going to have to pay 2 to 3% on the other side.
Yep.
So I was like, I'm going to make this simple. But like, there's a lot of people like me that will do stuff like that to give a fair deal. I'm not going to give it away, but I'm not going to expect to try and squeeze every dollar out of that person.
People trade speed and convenience for price
all the time.
That's it.
And I never thought I'd do that. I was always confused with like
why
who I am now.
Why would I give up equity? But you're like, no, I get it. It's time. Time is money.
It's time. Like, we're trying to build this incredible product for all these people on this webinar. Right. That's more important to me than an extra couple $1,000s and having to deal with it getting under escrow and non-refundable not going hard and all these home inspections and then
without a doubt
all this funding and just all the appraisals.
30 to 45 day close. I mean, yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it.
Oh,
so
Jamil still needed 30.
Okay.
I was like, come on, bro.
Give him some shit,
You know. So, yeah, we do have some time, you guys. This actually went faster than I thought it would. So let's dive into some Q&A. How's that sound?
Let's do it, man.
Alex, where do I go for that?
You should just be able to look in the chat.
Let me go into the chat, you guys. There's a bunch of chat. If you ask questions, just start re-asking them. There's been a ton of comments. And if you guys are getting value in this, make sure to hit a 1 so we know that we're providing value for you guys today. Ryan's very busy and took time out of his day to give free value to all you people. There we go. There's some 1s. I love it.
Good stuff. It's awesome.
Can you guys play role investor and agent? Sure. I shouldn't have said, here, hit a 1 and then ask questions.
Yeah, right. You're good.
How much is your training and how much is the system monthly?
Yeah, so Privy, I think it's like, I don't even know. I think it's like a couple $100 a month.
Okay.
I'd have to double check that. As for my course, there's 3 different tiers. So I've got a $1,000 one, I've got a $2,500, and then a $5,000. Inside the $1,000 one, it is the base version. That's where I'm a bad salesperson here. Like the $1,000 version, in my opinion, if you're not buying that, I'm going to get rid of it here soon. It's too cheap for the amount of information that you're getting in this process. I just told you one example was my first deal. I made $16,000.
Right.
Like this strategy, if you don't triple your money off of your investment, off your first deal, I'm not doing something right here either. So the $1,000 one has everything as the base version. $2,500 is for people that are trying to build and scale. So for them, if they are trying to build a team, it goes through how I have my entire team structured. And if I were to go back in time, how I would restructure it again from the start.
Gotcha.
And then the $5,000 one includes access. It's included into the private community with NFTs. They get private coaching, and then they also get systems and processes. So we build out a Podio for them. They get our calculator, and then the access alone, that $5,000 value tag.
That's amazing. So Mary asked, would you recommend that newbie REI investors get their licenses? I think someone else asked that as well. I'll answer this first. Sure. I'd say it depends on what you want to do. But to be completely honest with you, if you're just getting started and it's in a place that you can, we just gave you all those examples of why you should.
Right.
If you're just getting started and generating just a few leads and talking to a few people, I think you should go in there with an unbiased opinion and just figuring out what's the best way to help this person sell their home for their situation.
For sure.
And I personally have my license. So did you. When I was just starting to get a deal here and there. It may take some time to get a wholesale deal.
For sure.
In that meantime, you could get some great deals using your real as the agent.
Absolutely, yeah.
And make some real money. I remember just as being an agent, I was 2013. I got my license. My first deal, I made $7,000, and that's like took me 2.5 months to make that. I thought I was like stealing money when I got the escrow check.
Right.
I was like, holy crap! But like that's life-changing money. And the only reason that happened was because I had my license, and my buddy had a rental property that actually helped him get rented out.
Awesome.
And then they ended up wanting to move and get all the equity out of it, and I got to sell it for him.
Gotcha. I agree with you 100%. I think the way you said it at the beginning was perfect. It depends on what they want to do. Like if you want to go in and like, we're not saying go get licensed and go be a realtor as your primary focus.
Right.
It's just a tool in the tool belt. I would argue that yes, you'd probably need it in the future. How soon? We don't know. We're seeing some states and markets regulate it right now.
Yep.
But with that said, it's not a necessary requirement to get started. You could do a handful of deals without being licensed and then transition to getting a license once you've got some money too.
Yeah, I mean, that does cost,
that
is time and money, but my experience is worth it. It does bring complexities to opening yourself up to getting in lawsuits and liabilities, but if you actually do the work, do the details, and you're doing the right thing, I think it's completely fine, to be honest with you.
Without a doubt. And I mean, obviously, everyone on my team knows, like, this is what I preach. Go get licensed.
How do you keep up in a competitive market? That was another one that was asked.
Sure.
I think it's doing the strategies that you're talking about, but what would you answer there?
I would challenge the mindset a little bit. So I would want to ask you a question first. Would you rather be in a market where thousands of homes are being sold over and over and over, or would you rather be in a market that has nothing going on? I would say the market that has thousands of homes being sold is exactly where you want to be. It goes back to the collaboration over competition. Find ways to leverage relationships. The most important thing is bring value to the relationships. Correct me if I'm wrong here, I never once went to you and was like, Jesse, I need this. If I ever had a question or if I needed something, I felt like I was bringing some kind of value or reciprocation to where you were like, okay, like I'll entertain this. You have to understand that when you're around these people that are doing it at a high level, it's all about value driven. Right. So if you're bringing value in what you do with your initiative and your first conversation with them, it should lead to more opportunities to JV and collaborate and do deals together. And shit, who knows, dude? You could figure out exactly what they're doing that maybe you weren't doing right. You don't know. Collaborate.
And I want to kind of hop on to that point as well. Mm-hmm. When I first got started, there was a lot less competition, but this was not a normalcy of how people did deals either. So it's really funny to where people are like, oh, it's so much harder. There's so many people in this industry. Yeah. Getting a $20,000 deal was a huge thing 5-6 years ago. Yep. Huge. I mean, you're doing $5,000 to $15,000 constantly. Now I'm hearing people getting 50, hundreds, this is a normalcy now. I mean, you could really have one deal that could change your life. Yes. And it's because of the competitive market. It's because of all the people that are doing this. You guys have to shift your mindset of saying, this is hard. Making a lot of money is never easy. Mm-hmm. And it's not meant to be easy. Right. But if you are creative, if you are driven, you have an opportunity of a lifetime in front of you guys. For you guys that are already doing it, congratulations and keep killing it. But for you guys that are new, you have to do whatever it takes. You have to put relationships ahead of the money at the beginning. Have to. And it's hard to have that mindset. But you have to learn from people. You have to get mentored from people. It's just, that's a part of the game. But like this competitive market, this is a blessing. This is where you could go change your life with 2 deals. Mm-hmm. Like literally change your life and then learn as you go. Back when I started doing it, you didn't have those opportunities. Like you really had to learn it. You had to grind it. You didn't get those monster deals. Dude. It just wasn't there.
And even so, I mean, I love what you said about mindset of like giving up value in the beginning of money for relationships. It's exactly how I started. I told you, I came to every relationship like, I'm naive, and in my eyes, I wasn't like this guy that I felt like I was stupid. I was just like, I don't know what I don't know. So what I was arguing to people like when I first went in, I'm like, why are you coming in with this ego and entitlement that you deserve 90% of the deal when you've never done a deal? Right. Like I was on a team when I first started. I gave away like 70% of my first handful of deals. Yeah. I had a mentor that took me under his wing that I gave away 50% of my deals for 2.5 years after that. Yeah. But after those 3 years and those 2 experiences, guess what? I knew how to do the deals. Now I can go and connect myself with guys that are doing it at a high level and bring actual value and hope that we can do some deals together 50-50.
Yeah. So now you got a Rolex on your hand.
So do you.
All right. Let me go to some more. There's a lot of questions. I'm just going to jump through. This is a good one, actually. Sure. How many markets do you recommend being in at one time? I'm only in one market looking to expand. I want to jump on this first because I virtual wholesaled the whole entire country. I have wholesaled houses in 48 states.
Which 2 have you not?
Like Hawaii. Maybe I did, actually. I did Alaska, which was cool. Hawaii, and there's like one more. It might have been like North Dakota, South Dakota, or Wyoming, like one of those. Yeah. I would say master your market. So if you haven't mastered your market or tapped the full potential of the one market you're in right now, wait.
That's it.
Batch Leads is great for multiple markets. That's one of my favorite things about it is being able to comp in multiple markets, being able to pull your data, do all the things, have everything in one place. Yep. But I would do a lot of research, and before you go into that market, Jamil with Keegley and Josiah actually taught me this, which I knew, but they taught it at a much higher level, is go figure out your buyers before you market. You need to have the buyers, you need to have the strategy, you need to have people that are going to buy the homes from you. Yep. Before you market. You should not spend a marketing dollar until you do it. You have to start there. I was watching something on Charlie Munger yesterday. Is start with the problem and work backwards.
I love that.
Don't start with the solution. Start with the problem.
Yep.
So that is what you should do. Is if you're going to go to another market, I'm telling you, work out your buyers, find quality buyers, find the areas that are best to market in to deliver deals to these buyers, and then start your marketing. But absolutely, that's how you expand your business. That's how you grow. But make sure you do it that way.
For sure. And I love how you said it. I would personally recommend staying in one market. Like the alternative of the only option in my opinion.
But we're in Phoenix, so you have to remember some people are in some smaller markets. So
yep, like if you're in a market 1,000 people, yes, you should not be trying to do deals there. But with that said, I'm still going to go with the challenging here of drive for dollars. I guarantee you there's still 2 to 3 investors out there. Starting in your backyard first is always going to be easier. But if you didn't want to do that, I get it. Keep it in the back mind while you're still driving around. You're looking at distressed properties. You're going to call investors, even if that's not your focus. But then focus on one market. Get some deals under your belt. You don't need to be going and doing 50 different states, being like, I'm going to go try everything and anything, because you don't know what you don't know about those markets. You don't know. Like, it's a strategy that could work.
RJ makes a good argument for that. So
let's. Do you know what it is, or what? Like,
he likes to cycle through markets. So he'll grab a few deals, go to the next market, come back to kind of let those lists refresh and not hit them so hard. So RJ does have a strategy. It can work, but if you're not doing at least 5 deals in your backyard that you've learned how to cut your teeth, I wouldn't on a regular basis, and that's monthly.
I've tried other markets. So right now we're in like 8 different markets total. And the thing that really separated it for me that I struggled with the other markets aside from Phoenix was realizing that I didn't know specific zip codes, specific pockets, what buyers were looking for ideally. Like there was just a lot of like what ifs and question marks. So I think that
that's why you have to understand the buyers first, because they're going to give you the areas. And the biggest question you guys should ask all those buyers, where should I never market to? So like when I was in Louisville or Detroit or Lansing, all these areas that have some war zone, crime zone areas. Memphis, we learned that the hard way in Memphis. We sent, me, Danny, and Jared, when I was partners with them, sent out mailers to a war zone in Memphis and literally lit up $5,000 in mailing costs back when direct mail was like the way that you did it. It was so frustrating. People were like literally calling and be like, I'll sell you my house for $2,000. Like they're worthless. Yeah. So like we just burnt up money. So make sure that you understand where to market to and then who's going to buy.
Yeah, and where not to. I really like that. That was a good nugget.
Yeah. Okay, let me go to another one. Please discuss your method of finding cash buyers starting from zero. Also go over your conversation with them and your vetting process. It's a great question, actually.
Yep. So when we go through and we qualify our buyers, I always want to know a few things. I want to see, do they have any past deals that they could show me? Do you obviously have a proof of funds? Do you have any testimonials? Like I want to get like where I'm reverse engineering to make sure that this is not going to be another wholesaler. Let's not be confused. I don't mind working with other wholesalers, but when I'm vetting out my buyers, I need to know what you do.
Are you a buyer or are you a wholesaler?
Yes.
And if they lie to you, so I'm sorry to cut you off, but I'm passionate about this, is you should definitely be, it should be an honor for someone to be on your list. You shouldn't just want anyone to be on your list, especially your VIP list or your personal contacts.
Amen.
You're going to sell them 90% of your deals. Some of the tough ones, you're going to have big lists you could sell to, or you could go to a Keegley, or there's a lot of people that could help you sell.
Right.
But yes, they have to earn to be on your list. These are the problems that come up that fuck you out of your deals, and you end up having deals fall apart. Is working with the wrong buyer.
Yeah, they're
lying.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's it. Now, what was the first part of that question again? It's gone.
Discuss your finding cash buyers starting from zero. So you guys, you could go on Batch Leads. We have buyer criteria that you could literally filter down, start creating a list, have a VA call, or you could call. We're actually working on some stuff to show people that have multiple transactions, how much hard money that they have out. We have a lot of cool stuff coming to where you could really get the real active buyers on Batch Leads. I think that rolls out like the next 45 days, actually.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's exactly where I'd go to vet out some buyers.
And then I think the last part of that, so starting from zero. So yeah, I would pull a list and I would start calling people. And then your conversation, you basically just said that. Ask these questions. So ask, how many deals have they done? Actually get a proof of funds, and not a proof of funds that they like stole from someone. See where they got it from. Ask those right questions.
Yep.
And then I like that testimonial thing you said. Who have you done deals with?
Yeah, like is there anybody that could go on your behalf and tell me that like you were a rock star to work with? And not many people go with that approach, but I mean, you'd be surprised when I ask the buyers how many of them are actually impressed and thankful that I'm vetting them out the way that I am, because they want to earn to be on the buyer's list.
And then criteria as well, that we didn't mention criteria. Mm-hmm. You don't want to send people a deal that they don't want. You should actually have a detailed description. That shows that you're not just blasting everyone with a text message. You should have your top 10 people that literally before you send out a text or any type of email, you go through, does this fit any of their criteria? You make that phone call, and then you go down the process. When we're wholesaling, we had the VIP list, then we had the VIP text list, then we had the VIP emailing list, and then we had the generalized email list, to where we had a whole entire flow of what that looked like. And I think getting there with the questions that we talked about, if you're going to get on the phone with people or at a networking event, those are the questions that you should be asking. Someone will tell you what you want to hear, but if you don't ask those right questions,
right? No, that's exactly it.
Those are those people that will end up trying to screw you on a deal.
Yeah, they'll just put it on their list, mark up the price, and they're good.
Which is fine too. But if they lie to you about it,
right,
that's someone you can't trust, and that's someone you shouldn't work with.
Mm-hmm. Goes back to that magical word of expectations.
Sophia asked, do you virtually flip? How do you JV on a virtual flip?
So we do not virtually flip at the moment. We are actively trying to in Florida. I just haven't come across an opportunity that I'm like all gung-ho yet. So we're only flipping right now out here in Arizona.
I have virtually flipped.
Talk about it.
So I've done a lot of virtual flips, actually. The first thing you need to do on virtual flipping is find a real estate agent that is an investor that also flips himself.
Okay.
And then cut them out in on the deal. I was nice enough to have an agent in Louisville. Her name was Julie, and she was absolutely amazing.
Okay.
And what she would do is she would actually just charge me 6% on her side.
Okay.
And she would bring the crew, manage the crew, so she would project manage it.
Wow.
And she built it into her just her agency fee.
Yeah.
And she helped me identify the properties. She helped me negotiate them. She helped do all of it. So like when I had a warm lead, she would actually go to the appointment for me, make sure we got it at the right price. I would give her 6%, so it would cost me like 10%, 9-10%.
Yeah.
You know, on the
total
on the sell side, on the back side, but she didn't ever take anything on the front end.
Yep.
She took it all on the back end, and she did that for me. And I did a handful of deals with her, made quite a bit of money.
It's awesome.
So find an agent that actually flips. See if you can leverage their contractors. You obviously want to do lipstick stuff to where they're just managing that for you, getting it back to market as soon as possible.
Yep.
That is a great way to wholesale virtually.
I love that.
Had a lot of success doing that, actually. Made a lot of money.
It's a brilliant idea, man.
So I would, if I were you, the markets that you're in, is make sure that you have someone that could do that. The agent that you need an agent investor.
Interesting.
Let me keep going. How do you reach out to sellers and have the conversation of, I am an investor, I want to make an offer, if it doesn't look like I can list for you without sounding like a scam? Can you give a short version of your script?
Yeah, so it sounds like it wouldn't work for a listing, so they're just trying to go in and just give them a cash offer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it just goes in just telling them like, hey, I'm interested in purchasing your property. It looks like it needs X amount of work based on the condition that it's in. I think, and this is where I have to do my process a little bit different because I'm licensed.
Yeah.
I make sure I disclose to them, your property could be worth this, but it could be worth this if you put in this much money.
Right.
Otherwise, it's worth this in the condition it's in. Yes,
Right.
my offer's here, but it's guaranteed. What would you like to do? My offer is going to be $100,000, and if you want, at the condition it's in right now, it's probably worth like $115,000, $120,000. If you were to put in $50,000 of work, you could sell it like $225,000, $250,000. Those are all obviously made up numbers, but like just setting the expectations, and I almost do it like a car wash package. Let them pick what they feel is the best for them, and then I can run with it from there.
I've actually done it to where someone wanted more money and it just needed a light rehab, to where, and people do this, there's a lot of paperwork that has to go in, but we actually fix the house up and then put it on the market for them so they can make more money.
Like a novation almost.
Kind of.
Yeah.
But they still, yes.
Novation.
Kind of. It was a little bit different.
Okay.
At that time, this was like 5-6 years ago when
before it was even a thing.
Yeah, I've done a few novations. That's another great way. But the person saying you can't list the house, you can list the house in any condition.
Sure you can.
So I would kind of say, it doesn't work, I can list it for you. Like, you could always list it. It just depends what they want, and you're breaking down numbers for them and the speed of convenience.
Yep, and that's where I break down the car wash package, because when it's all on the table for them, they're going to be able to say, oh, okay, I want this option. And it's human psychology that people want to feel as if they have control and they're the decision makers, which is 100% how it should be. It's their property. So if you give them option 1, 2, or 3 and let them pick, they'll feel like they're in control of the decision and they'll be happy with it.
Okay, we got a few more minutes, so I got a few more questions I'm going to go over with you guys. Thank you for asking so much questions, by the way. This is my favorite part. I love just directly helping people with, I've just flipped and wholesaled and virtually wholesaled so many homes. Like, I've experienced a lot of this stuff, and I want to make sure you don't make the mistakes I've made, or if I've done it correctly, how can I tell you how to do that?
For sure.
When you guys show up to an open house, what do you say? Offer, ask, like, so when you're telling people to go to open houses, give us your script. What do you do? How do you do it?
So this is the beautiful thing about open houses. These agents are hungrier than any other agent, in my opinion.
100%.
And I want to make sure that you guys understand this note. I just talked about it with Brent on the other show. With agents, the primary focus of doing an open house is not to sell that current home that they're doing the open house in.
It's get new prospects.
It's to get new prospects. Remember what I said a million times. The hardest part of being an agent is finding a client. They are waiting for you to walk in. There is no perfect script of how you walk in other than, hey, I wanted to come check out the house, walk around, just take a look. Is this your listing? You could ask them questions about it to kind of feel them out, but then just tell them, I'm an investor and I'm trying to buy 5 to 10 properties a month. Do you think you could help me out, or is there an agent at your brokerage that could help me out? And then just build the relationship. That's the key part about going to these open houses, is that you're creating a relationship you didn't have, and it's with someone that's already working hard.
So I keep getting these questions over and over. And I'm really noticing people are overthinking a lot of these things. Like, if you went to go talk to your friend, or if you're always coming from an abundance mindset, like, you're literally walking in there being like, is there a way that I could help this person or they could help me? Right. Maybe this is an agent that's new that needs to, and you know a lot of lenders to where they can maybe collaborate and do deals together. Like, just go talk to the person. This is what I'm looking for. Is there anything that you need help with? Like, it could be completely irrelevant, but if you do these things for people, they're going to remember that. And then when they actually have the opportunity to bring you something, you're the first person that they're going to call. This is a relationship business.
That's all it is.
Actually, the world is a relationship type of business. So I just wanted to drop that in.
Beautiful.
How do you make a realtor's contract assignable, or do I have to double close? So in Arizona, you don't. It's already assignable unless they say this contract is not assignable in additional terms. You don't have to say anything. But as Ryan alluded to, you should be honest and upfront with the people that you're working with, because if you're not, that is the one and only time, and your name is going to get smeared. They will tell a bunch of other people of what you did.
You got it. Spot on.
How do you do it successfully virtually?
It's a numbers game. So, I mean, how do you do direct to seller successfully virtually?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. It's the just building relationships, submitting offers, following up with your offers in your relationships. And just remember, like, when you're creating the army of realtors, which is what I go through in the course, you got to understand you're looking for, just like how you have VIP buyers, you're looking for your VIP agents. These are classified to me as agents I've done one deal or more a month every month, or it's an agent that has done 2 deals with me lifetime. Those are agents that have brought an extreme amount of value through action and results that I can then reciprocate and say, okay, let me just have a conversation with them. Let me know your spouse's name, your kid's name, your anniversary dates, important things in your life, so that, again, like you said, the first time anything comes across their table, I'm the first person they think of, not the other investor, because there's so many of us.
Okay, and then I got a good last question before we go with Jason. What would make a realtor want to work with the wholesaler? Are they sacrificing their commission at all? So I will answer this first, because I actually kind of did what you did at the very beginning. I worked for an investor, and I was calling agents back when there's even more deals to get. And there's a few ways that you could do this. One, you could let them double commission it if you want to do it that way. But all they're doing is getting the listing fee. So you're not taking anything. If you really want to get them to where you know you can make a huge assignment, you would let them represent you as the buyer as well, which can work. Or you could represent yourself and get that 3%, and as you mentioned, to double dip. But you're not taking anything away from them. You're still adding value to make it an easier service for their client to sell their home. That is what you are bringing. And if that doesn't work for them, then they're not your buyer, and you're on to your next 5 offers for that day.
Right. And icing on the cake with it too is, let's play it out if it's not listed. The question you'd want to ask the agent to figure out if they would get commission from the seller or not is, do you have a listing contract signed?
Yeah.
If they do have the listing contract signed, guess what? They're getting paid commission through the seller.
Yep.
Now, if it's off market or it's a referral or a pocket listing, which is something not listed that the agent has,
Something you can negotiate with them.
that's it. You could cut them in on the wholesale fee. You'd be surprised how many realtors are jumping up and down for a $5,000 finder's fee because it didn't have to go through their brokerage.
Yeah.
So just understand, it's again going back to value. There's different ways to structure it. Just being transparent and setting the right expectations should be able to allow you to be very vulnerable with them.
Gotcha. Okay, before we go, and again, thank you everybody that participated with all the questions. I love doing these monthly webinars to add value, to make sure that we're helping you guys grow in your journey of whatever you're doing, fix and flipping, wholesaling, being an agent, any of it. So what's one last nugget that you like to give before we get off?
Yeah.
Just anything.
Yeah. So just take action. Like, don't feel like you have to compete with other people. And like, I will tell you, it's that comparison's the thief of joy, right? Like when you're in a market, and I'll speak more so being that I was younger, where I was comparing myself to these other guys, you really don't know what goes on behind the scenes. So the best piece of advice I have, just fucking do it. Just double down, do the work, the results will show. I promise. There's no way in hell that you could do these action steps and these KPIs 30, 45 days and not have results.
I agree.
So just do it.
And then how do they find you on social? I believe you have a TikTok and an Instagram. So how would they find you?
Yep. So TikTok and Instagram, it's my first and last name, Ryan Zolin. And then I'm very active in my Discord community.
So you do have a Discord community as well.
Yep. We've got over 1,000 people in there. We've been doing it pretty live. I have like literally 20 questions coming in a day. I answer all 20 questions.
Nice.
So.
And again, thank you guys for attending. I am Jesse Burrell, CEO of Batch Service. And until next time, let's get it.
See you guys.